Hello, I saw a travel palette, I think on a TikTok video, and I instantly fell in love with it and tracked it down and bought one myself. So that's what I'm going to be taking a look at today. It's this Funto watercolour pocket set. I bought it on Amazon and it's arrived a bit bashed up looking. But the set comes in this kind of velour bag. So it comes with a carabiner and a metal bulldog clip, and then this beautiful little faux leather wallet, and then the paint palette. It slightly bothers me that all the greens are different from each other, but I really do like this kind of retro olive green. So it's all plastic, and then it's got these two fold out palettes. Does that come out? Yeah, and a little paper swatch sheet. I guess you could actually use this deeper lid for water if you wanted to. I guess the carabiner is for hooking the little pouch onto something. It's quite nicely made, and it doesn't feel too flimsy or anything. I'm assuming that the clip is to attach this to a sketchbook. I guess you could attach it by that one. Yeah, that's not too bad. Though obviously it's going to cover up that corner a little bit. And the clip opens up quite wide. I'm towards the back of this sketchbook now, though I don't think it could go much wider than that. You'd have to just clip it to a few of the pages instead, if that wasn't wide enough. There's no information about the paints themselves other than that they're non-toxic. I'll swatch them out, but I'm not expecting very much from them, and my intention is to remove them and fill them with professional watercolour paints from tubes that I already own. They actually re-wet quite nicely, and they're quite vibrant. So this purple and blue are quite weak. That's a bit stronger. There's a typo on the green. It's cyanine green. So the paints aren't awful. I think as a kid's set, it's quite a nice little thing. So probably using them right before I want to get them out wasn't the best thing. It's probably going to be really messy. I'm going to see how easy it is to remove the paints. They've not been poured in, so hopefully they've just got a bit of glue on the bottom. Yeah, that's good. There. Whoops. I don't want to push too hard. So, I don't want to break the walls. But you can see the glue circle that's holding them in. There you go. And this is my trusty knife that I've had for years, and it's such a fine blade, it's useful for all sorts of things. The plastic's going a little bit white, where I've obviously stretched it a bit, but it's holding up not too badly. I'm just going to go and give this a good scrub now, and then fill it with my own paints. I've cleaned all the loose paint out, but there's a bit of hardened glue that's stained in the bottoms of them. I'm not bothered about that though, it's not transferring any colour. So next, to decide what my 9 colours should be, I'll just show you by comparison. This is a standard sized half pan. This is a Sennelier one. So they don't quite fit in, but it'd probably be a similar amount of paint. And they're a little bit shallower, but a little bit bigger. I saw recently a beautiful set of 6 Gallo Watercolours, and it wasn't your standard mixing palette. It had got quinacridone gold, quinacridone magenta, transparent red oxide, olive green deep, harbour blue and Notturno. And I thought I'd like to include something like those 6 colours. Though instead of the quinacridone gold, I think I'd like to include PY 150, and which in this case I've got Mijello Mission Gold's green gold. I've never used this as a mixing yellow, but I thought I'd like to give it a go. I've got other travel palettes that have got really good reliable mixing colours in, so I'm not too worried if I go a bit off-piste with this one. So I'll paint a few out first of all and see if I like the look of them as a palette overall. So that would be the yellow in my set. Then they had a quinacridone magenta, which I'll include. And I'll use, again, Mijello Mission Gold. This is quinacridone permanent magenta, and it's a PR 122. Then the Gallo set, I'll link to it down below by the way, because it really is a beautiful one. And they had transparent red oxide. So this is the whole list of colours that I've got in tube form. And I've got my Mijello Mission Gold set as well, plus a few individual ones. So I need to see what I've got that's most similar to a transparent red oxide. It's a PR 101. I think actually I'm going to use this Lutia Orange. It doesn't have a pigment number. It's made from Cosmos, but I think I'm going to enjoy it with this range of colours. Some people were saying that the Lutia colours don't re-wet very well once they've dried out. But I've had some in a half pan since I first got them. Must be several months ago, and I haven't had a problem. They are a bit harder to re-wet than other colours, but it's still been fine. And the next colour is Olive Green Deep. I think that Gallo's Olive Green Deep is quite similar to Daniel Smith's Undersea Green and also Roman Schmoll's Aquarius Green. And all 3 of those together are probably my favourite greens. Then the next colour in the Gallo set is Harbour Blue. And I have actually got Harbour Blue. It's a mixture of PB15:3 and PBR8. One colour I want to try out, which I've got in tube form, is Schmincke's Forest Blue, but it's quite a bit greyer. This is Schmincke's Shire Blue, which is too green. And then there's also Schmincke's Deep Sea Green. And then finally Schmincke's Prussian Green. Sorry, these weren't all showing before. I think it's funny how the Schmincke blues are more green looking than the Schmincke greens. But I think overall I'm going to go with the Schmincke Prussian Green. It's a similar kind of value and I think it'll be a good mixing colour. And then the last colour in the Gallo set of 6 is Notturno, which is one of my favourite colours. This is my half pan. And it's one of my favourite shadow colours. Currently Gallo don't make tubes, so I can't put Notturno in this set. Though one of my online friends mentioned to me the other day that there is a tab on the Gallo website which says tubes, so I don't know if that's something that's coming. That would be very exciting if so. But I would like something similar to this in my set, so I thought today I might try and mix up an Gallo substitute using just my watercolour tubes, and then I can transfer some of it into this little green palette today. So Notturno is a mixture of PB29, PR101 and PV19. And obviously there's quite a lot of variation in the PR101s and the PV19s that you can get. So I'll have a play around and see how close I can get. So that's the original Notturno to aim for. I'll use Daniel Smith's French Ultramarine because that's quite a mid-granulating pattern. I don't want it too smooth or too crazy granulating. And then PR101s, it might have to be Daniel Smith's Indian Red. Yeah, that's actually the only 101, PR101 that I've got. The other one is, or the closest other one is PR102. That's Burnt Sienna from Mijello Mission Gold. I'll try mixing those two to start with and we'll see what kind of PV19 it looks like it needs. A bit more red. That's actually not too bad already. That's pretty close. Just putting a tiny bit more red in it. I'm wondering if it needs any PV19 at all. I'll let it dry a bit and see how much it varies. So I don't know if you can make out in the video, but now that these are drying a little bit, there is a little bit of pinkiness in the Notturno, which is missing from this, so I will add a little bit of PV19. I've got some very kind of hot pink PV19s, but these are the two that might be better suited. So there's Permanent Magenta from Sennelier and Quinacridone Violet from Mijello Mission Gold. I'll show you what they're like, just anyway. So that's the Sennelier. And that's the Mijello Mission Gold. And they're pretty similar. I think the Sennelier is probably a little bit subtler, and the Mijello Mission Golds is that a bit more vibrant. I think I'm going to mix in a little tiny bit of this. I don't know if much difference is showing up on the screen, but there's a tiny kind of bit more pink to that now. I think it's close enough anyway, so what I'm going to do, sorry, this is the original Notturno. I'm going to try and mix up a quantity of this now, enough to fill up one of the pans in the paint palette. I should probably have started off in a smaller area. This is something I've been meaning to do for a while now, actually. The problem is I need to try and mix it without getting it too wet, so it's going to be a very thick, gloopy mixture. Otherwise it will take forever to dry out in the paint palette. Right, how's that doing? Oh, that's not too bad. That's the funny thing about Notturno. In the pan it always looks a lot redder than how it lays down. So I was thinking that was going to be way too red. But actually it's closer than I thought. Right, try it again. That's probably a little bit too red now. So I'll do one last bit of ultramarine and then I'll stick with it as it is. If you're still with me on this video, I'm very impressed, because I know that what I find exciting is vastly different from what other people find exciting. Okay, I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to transfer all of the paint that's in here into my new little palette, and if there's any left over, I'll fill another half pan. So I've got 6 colours that I think I'm going to include. Let's just pop my version of Notturno on here. So I think what I'll do now is mix some of those 6 colours into a colour wheel format and see where my gaps are. Such an incredible pigment, PY150. Then I'll put my reds up here. This is a much cooler red, so I'll pop it on here and I'll see if I can mix a warmer red. So I'll leave a gap for that. So this is my Schmincke Prussian Green, which I'm counting as a very cool blue. Then I've got my Lutia Orange. put it nearer the middle because it's kind of brown really. Cross between a warm yellow and a brown. I've got my green mix here. And then my made up Notturno here. I'll just have a mix of some of these then and see what colours I get. So I'm going to be able to get a nice mixture of greens from these two. And also I can get some lovely ones mixing the undersea green and the green gold as well. I'm missing a red from the set, but I don't really use reds very often at all. So I'm going to see what I can get by mixing my Quin Magenta and my green gold. So quite a nice cool bright red there. If I add more of the quinacridone permanent magenta, then I can get a really nice rich red. Oops, that's not a very good circle. So these are some of the warmer yellow and orange colours I can get with this same mix as well. Now I am going to need something that's a bit more of a sky blue. So I'm going to try mixing the quinacridone permanent magenta and the Prussian green. But I think I'll probably end up adding another blue as one of my remaining three. So that's a more muted one. And if we want a more vibrant purple, I can get all sorts of amazing purples by adding more of the Quin Magenta. So I've just tried mixing Lutein orange and the Prussian green to see how much of a neutral it would make. But I get a really nice range of greens in from it. So I've just got this lovely brown by mixing the Lutein orange and my purpley mix. That's it there. I just fancied seeing what the mix of Lutein orange and Quin permanent magenta would be. And it's not dissimilar from a colour I could get mixing the green gold and the Quin permanent magenta. But because the Luthier orange has got this interesting texture to it. I obviously get a more textured version of the colour. So I'm just wondering for my blue if I should include, because I usually always have French ultramarine of some description, I'm wondering if I should play with cobalt blue as my sky colour. I'm tempted just to include it so that I can get more familiar with it. I normally like including a buff titanium, or more recently my favourite's been Sennelier warm grey, but that's actually pretty close to the mix that I get with my purple and the Luthier, so I'm not going to include one of those. I was just playing with the idea of using Luthier blue just as a good one for mixing dark browns and things, but I realised I haven't tried mixing the Prussian green and my purple, because I wouldn't be surprised if they come up with something close to this Luthier blue. Oh yeah, that's nice. So they're actually quite similar, and because I've got the granulating dark purpley colour, that'll give me some of the interest that the Luthier blue gives as well. I haven't got a really good black or dark grey, so for that I think I'm going to have to mix my Luthier orange, my dark purple and my Prussian green. I'll just check that. So that is, oh my gosh, that one, and that one. But it's a pretty good mix from that palette. So for my other colours, I'm going to include haze brown, just as a convenience dark brown. I'd probably include Schmincke sepia brown, but I've run out of that in a tube now. And because I can't mix it, I'm going to include a cobalt turquoise. So these are all my colour choices. I'll just put them in an order I like now. So I've had to put the light on, it's got so gloomy. Right, scrape this in. So I'll just make a little swatch chart for it now, because I think these colours in particular, other than the cobalt blue and the cobalt turquoise, they're a little bit deceptive as to what colour they actually wash out to. So there we are, there's my new little palette. Thanks to Gallo for the inspiration for some of the colours. And I'm pretty happy with the colours that I can mix with those. It's very much not the case that I needed any more travel palettes, but as I said, I really couldn't resist this little one. I'll pop this somewhere now warm so that the paints can dry out. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks ever so much for joining me. Bye!